It does not take a financial mastermind to realize that the global landscape of computing electronics is fundamentally broken right now. We like to pretend we live in an era of endless consumer choice, but the reality is that the entire modern digital world is at the mercy of an incredibly tight oligopoly. When you strip away the branding on your smartphones, your laptops, your smart TVs, and even your modern cars, you find that the dynamic random access memory keeping those devices alive comes from just three monolithic companies. Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron collectively control roughly 90% of the global supply of memory. This is not just a standard corporate success story. It is a terrifying concentration of economic power over a component that has become as essential to modern human survival as electricity or running water. In a healthy market, these companies would compete to offer the best product at the fairest price to the global public. Instead, we are witnessing a coordinated pivot away from the average consumer to chase the absurdly lucrative gold rush of artificial intelligence, effectively leaving regular citizens to fight over the scraps. The mechanism behind this shift is simple yet devastating. The sudden, aggressive explosion of artificial intelligence data centers has created an insatiable demand for highly advanced, high-bandwidth memory. Silicon Valley tech giants are throwing billions of dollars at anything that can process their algorithms, and they are more than willing to pay an astronomical premium to secure the hardware they need. Seeing an opportunity to make unprecedented profit margins, the big three memory manufacturers have essentially shifted their production priorities to cater almost exclusively to the AI elite. If you are an ordinary person just trying to buy a replacement laptop for school, a new tablet for work, or a gaming console to unwind after a long day, you are suddenly paying an invisible AI tax. The market has been entirely warped because three boardrooms decided that making corporations rich is far more important than keeping the consumer economy stable. The consequences of this corporate abandonment are already hitting hard across the entire electronic sector. For a while, people thought this was just a niche problem affecting gamers, who watched the prices of platforms like the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox steadily climb. The Xbox Series consoles have already endured multiple price hikes, and industry insiders are openly warning that component costs could double yet again by late 2027. But this goes way beyond entertainment. In the summer of 2026, tech giant Apple abruptly raised the prices of its MacBooks and iPads by a massive 20%, explicitly blaming a global memory crunch. When a company with a supply chain as massive and powerful as Apple cannot shield its customers from skyrocketing memory costs, it means the system is completely out of whack. Salaries are certainly not growing by 20% overnight, meaning everyday people are being priced out of the very tools they need to function in a digital society. This brings us to the breaking point that many have been desperately waiting for. A major class action lawsuit has been launched in the Northern District of California against Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron. Filed by a group of 17 individual plaintiffs, including 3 struggling small businesses, the lawsuit directly accuses these 3 giants of illegal collusion. The core of the argument is beautifully simple. The plaintiffs allege that these companies are using the hype of the AI boom as a convenient, bulletproof cover story to artificially choke the global supply of regular memory and jack up prices across the board. Instead of this being a natural economic reaction to a sudden shift in technology, the lawsuit suggests it is a calculated, profit-driven venture disguised as unavoidable market destiny. They are essentially telling the world that their hands are tied because of AI demand, all while quietly raking in historic mountains of cash. To understand why this legal action feels so incredibly validated, you only have to look at the historical track record of the companies involved. This is not the first time the memory industry has been accused of acting like a cartel. Back in 2005, Samsung and SK Hynix were actually indicted and convicted by a federal jury for a massive, multi-year price-fixing and bid-rigging conspiracy. Corporate habits die hard, especially when the penalties of the past are viewed merely as a minor cost of doing business. Fast forward to 2026, and a fascinating behind-the-scenes revelation from a Valve employee showed that the exact same hostile, anti-competitive culture is alive and well today. During an interview discussing the manufacturing hurdles of their hardware, the employee revealed that memory manufacturers operate entirely without standard, stable contracts. Instead, they hand down an arbitrary, take-it-or-leave-it price every month. If a buyer tries to negotiate or says no to an unfair price, they are immediately blacklisted and told they will never be spoken to again. Operating a multi-billion-dollar global tech supply chain like a back-alley, cash-up-front illicit deal tells you everything you need to know about where the power lies. When a massive, respected entity like Valve has zero negotiating leverage and has to capitulate to whatever ridiculous demands are thrown at them just to keep their production lines moving, the average consumer stands absolutely no chance. This complete lack of transparency and official structure provides incredible weight to the allegations of the current lawsuit. It paints a picture of a cartel that knows it holds all the cards. They know that society cannot function without their silicon, so they have created an environment where they can dictate terms with absolute impunity, secure in the knowledge that desperate buyers will eventually have to say yes to whatever exploitative price point is thrown their way. The sheer scale of the wealth being generated by this crisis is jaw-dropping and makes the narrative of an innocent, demand-driven shortage impossible to swallow. Over the past 5 years, Micron has watched its stock price explode by over 1,000%, while SK Hynix has seen an even more absurd surge of over 2,400%, with a massive chunk of that growth happening entirely during the recent AI mania. Companies do not achieve that level of hyper-accelerated wealth by accident or through the natural, slow-moving laws of supply and demand. They achieve it by ruthlessly exploiting a choke point in the global economy. They are enabling a mad dash toward an AI ecosystem that many critics point out is environmentally destructive, ethically questionable, and highly unstable, all while letting the foundational consumer market that built their empires rot from neglect. Unfortunately, anyone hoping for a quick fix to this broken system is going to be disappointed. Class action lawsuits of this magnitude are notoriously slow, grueling legal marathons that take years to crawl through the court system. While this legal challenge is a phenomenal and necessary step toward holding these giants accountable, it will not lower the price of a laptop or a gaming console by tomorrow afternoon. In the short term, memory prices are expected to keep climbing, and the economic burden will continue to be shoved onto the shoulders of ordinary people. What this moment really does is strip away the polite corporate marketing and expose the deeply rigged reality of our current technological infrastructure. It serves as a stark, vital warning that allowing just 3 private entities to hold absolute monopoly power over the digital lifeblood of our planet is an absolute recipe for economic disaster.